Hello there, and welcome again to another session of Marketing Cafe Live here in the Marketing Cafe. Marketing Cafe, we're really excited that you're part of the discussion. And today we're going to talk about something that is, well, my guest says it's the most amazing, powerful, phenomenal way to success and glory and all kinds of things, entrepreneurial wonders. And you're going to get to see the great Dean Hankey, who I call the Magic Man, because he really is very magical. My name is Michael K. Reynolds, and I've owned a marketing agency for almost 25 years now. And you can learn all about me by going to globalstudio.com. And I work with many entrepreneurs through the years. I love entrepreneurs. That's because I love crazy people. All right. And speaking of wonderfully amazing, crazy people, I want to introduce my good friend and someone who I always look forward to listening to because he's brilliant, entertaining, and he's really magic. It is the great Dean Hankey, or also known as Fulfilled Event Marketing Magic and People Pro.
You need to get out a little more, Mike.
Well, welcome. And if at any time throughout this you go, like I do, say that Dean is one of the most interesting, amazing people that I've ever met, and I would love to connect with Dean Hankey, then that is your web address, valueimpactprofit.com. And if you've ever seen Dean's promotions, let's just say if you're wondering where all the explanation marks have gone in the world, they are on your headlines, all caps, lower caps, mixed caps. And even with this title of our presentation here, we like to kind of explain what it is we're talking about. And we had to do some finessing because there's a lot of magic in it. But you think that this topic that we're talking about, which is speaking your way to success, you are a huge fan of speaking. So before we get started with that, tell people a little bit about what you actually do, how you help out people, and if anybody wanted your kind of help, your kind of magical assistance, what would they expect?
Yeah, sure. I simply help people make more money, do more, have more fun, get more done. And one of the tools we leverage is the magic of speaking. Whether you're a speaker, professional speaker or not, we're all speakers. Whether we've ever talked to a single human being or several human beings, whether we're talking online or off, speaking is single-handedly the most powerful resource and tool I think you'll ever find and use and leverage in your professional business. So that being said, 30,000 live paid professional performances, over 150,000 live hours on stage. And I leverage my speaking as a gift to serve charitable cause groups and organizations worldwide. We've generated in excess of $20 million for charitable cause groups all around the world simply by doing what we love, speaking, preaching, teaching, and nagging, and helping people get more of what they want, need, desire, and deserve. Super simple.
Now, explain how 150,000 hours, because I had someone who go, "Come on, man, that's not possible that it could be that many hours. What is he, like 300 years old? How do you get to 150,000 hours?" Personally, I think 1,000 hours is pretty darn impressive, but I'm interested to know on how you got to 150,000 hours.
Sure. I've been a professional performer and presenter my entire life, literally since I was 5 years old. Now, 5 years old, of course, you don't have to make much of a living. Thank you, Mom and Dad. That being said, I did a lot of industrial presentations, i.e. theme parks as a performer, casinos as a performer, cruise ships, where we do anywhere from 5 to 25 shows in a single day. So one year, did 365 days in a row, nonstop, without a day off, 20 shows a day. Right there in a single year, more than 300, 36,000, 3,600 live performances. That was just 1 year. So it's pretty easy to understand. When you do trade shows as a connector, as a communicator, as a magician, as a performer, presenter, we could do 15 shows in a 6 hour window. So very easy to understand how those numbers add up.
So when you talk about speaking, a lot of this includes, I actually call you the magic man, but a lot of this
Yep,
actually included magic. Talk a little
of
bit
course.
about your magical journey.
Yeah, I spent 40 years as a professional casino showroom illusionist. And by that, I mean, if you've ever seen somebody like David Copperfield, you've seen what I do. So we had live theatrical interactive magic shows, just like you'd see, again, at a casino or a cruise ship or a corporate event or any of those kinds of events, fairs, festivals, special events, all kinds of stuff where we would, saw people into multiple pieces and restore them. We'd make people appear literally one shadow at a time. We'd make a Ferrari levitate and then vanish in midair. Things like that that you'd expect to see in a casino style review show or a corporate style review show.
So you said you started this at age 5. I think probably one of, it's always been kind of a common thing for people to say that it's the number one way to make money. You make more money through speaking than pretty much anything else. When you consider that speaking's part of becoming a top level of executive, when it's
Correct.
part of, speaking in front of large audiences, performing, recording content that can be resold, and all of those different things. But it's also for many people the scariest
Yeah.
thing that they could ever do. Now, you started at age 5. At what point were you not scared, and what kind of strategies do you have for people when they are nervous or frightened or like, "Well, I can't do that"?
Well, obviously for me, it was, I never was because I was too young and dumb to know the difference. And I had very smart parents who never told me that I should have been afraid. So I never learned how to do that. That said, some people say that speaking is the number one fear. Um, Frankly, I think the fear of a terrible, painful, agonizing death would be the number one fear. But pick your poison, I suppose. That being said, yes, communication, the quality of your communication will determine the quality of your success. So the more effective you are connecting, communicating, and converting, and when I say converting, I don't necessarily mean turning turning into cash all the time, because ideas convert. If you're going to be persuasive from the platform, whether that platform is one on one or one to many or one to some or one to a million or one to none through video, pre-recorded video, that the more persuasive, the more connected, and the better your communication. Easy for me to say as I talk about communication. The better your communication, the better results you'll get with the people you hope to serve. That's all there is to it. It's just talking. If you've talked to a person, you're a speaker. You can be.
Yeah, because entrepreneurship is leadership.
Yes.
Anybody who goes into being an entrepreneur, you can't be in a cave, you can't hide in an office. And even if you say, "Hey, I'm not going to be the one who's out front, who's doing all," you still have to recruit the people that are going to be out front. And that requires speaking. That requires a conversation and persuasion and being able to say things in a precise, concise way. This, what we're going to talk about, really is one of the absolute skills that every entrepreneur needs. Even if you think you're the shyest person, you still need to have this skill. And what's fascinating, Dean, is that there was an explosion about 15 or 20 years ago when social media made
Yeah.
speaking unlimited number of platforms. It used to be you had to really wait, you had to really work your way to even get on a stage. And now you flip a button and your stage is global.
Ta-da. It's magic. Yeah. And here's the thing. Let's give a 30-second background of why speaking is so powerful. And I'll start by asking a question. Have you ever seen a speaker or communicator? And I'm not necessarily talking about a professional paid speaker. I'm talking about somebody who connected with you from the platform, whether it's digital, online, or offline, who you were riveted, you were drawn in, you were connected to their message, you understood what they were about, and you were literally willing to follow them around and do anything they asked of you. Well, that's what we should be able to do. And here's the good news: whether you're a professional speaker or not, the number one best, most profitable way to generate new hearts and minds or business for your business is to simply get up in front of a group of people, one to one, one to many,
Yeah.
and speak and share your special brand of chocolatey goodness. Even as a magician, I was in an area best recognized for its failures. You've heard the phrase starving artist. I was actually making a relatively good living as a professional performer when everybody else in my market was abiding by that maxim or axiom, that meme, that social media, or excuse me, that starving artist axiom. And so people began to come to me and say, well, how are you doing this? I mean, you're younger than us, you're newer to the market than us, you're just starting, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, I credit most of my success to being good at what you do, obviously. That being said, all things being equal, speaking. So I'd go speak in front of anybody who would listen to me more than 5 seconds. So the Rotary, the Kiwanis, all the social and civic groups, all the charitable cause groups, all of these, any school, any group of people who would gather and listen to me. And I would share with them the super powerful strategies of making your
Mhm.
parties and events super spectacular, exciting, igniting, engaging, and fun, guaranteed. And they'd, instead of just saying, let me come show you some magic tricks, I created a topic that positioned my magic, my tools, my skills, my gifts, my abilities in a presentation that positioned. And then I'd say at the end, I'd speak for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever it happened to be. I did a few tricks in the middle, but mostly I talked about how they can benefit from having high quality events and entertainment, and then say, oh, and by the way, if anybody needs a professional performer, I'm available. And people would literally rush the table and they would come and say, wow, because they saw you, they know, they like you, they trust you. You don't have to convince them of what it is that you're capable of, because you simply go out and share. I'm sure you've done presentations a lot, Michael.
It's absolutely true as far as accelerating the process of having people hear you, like what you have to say, respect you, want to connect with you, want something of what you're offering. It is the fastest, greatest thing. Because I think as much as people say that they're, you know, uh, that they're afraid or they're nervous or they can't do it, they have respect for people that will go up and share it. And there's something to be said about that person who has gone up and done it. Is you listen in, you lean in. And I think of some of the masters. One of them is John Maxwell, and
Yes,
and he would speak, and the content was incredible. But he would also sell. The guy could
that's right.
sell books like nobody else, and literally, people say, "Oh, they don't rush to the tables." No, after John Maxwell was finished, and he did a very brief thing where he went through like 7 books, and the way that he pitched them, it was, if you don't read this book in 15 minutes, your life is going to fall
That's
off a
correct.
cliff. And literally, people would run to the table. So
Yep.
we know, you and I know, that speaking's great. Speaking's great in making short pitches and presentations, recruiting people to do all kinds of different things. So let's get into our content here. People want to know, okay, I get it. Speaking, really important. In fact, this whole digital thing was so exciting. Just the other day, 2 days ago, I got the opportunity to speak through a computer screen like this to 2,000 children all over Nevada, because they were all connected in 75 different classrooms. And so our opportunities to speak into a camera and reach a ton of people without having to fly, without having to book hotel reservations and all that, this is the time. This is the moment for this tremendous skill. All
Yep.
right, Dean, let's get into, you've got 4 steps you've built out for us on speaking your way to success. I believe it starts with this one.
Yep. I'm going to share with you the super simple 4-step speak it, teach it, preach it, profit system. And it's very simple. It starts with speak it. You simply have to open your trap and talk. It's nothing more complicated than that. Assuming you have something of value to share, and that could be your brand ability with your marketing prowess. Could be that you have the best sandwich shop in your region, and could be that you are in health and wellness, or that you are in relationships. It doesn't matter. You just get up and you share your special brand of chocolatey goodness, and you share that from the heart. Doesn't have to be a super structured ABC and read your PowerPoint, any of that. Just get up in front of and again, one to some, doesn't matter, and share your special brand of chocolatey goodness. So you first have to speak it. Then second, you simply teach it. And what I mean by that, it has to be transferable. You can't just inform, you must learn how to transform people's experience. Here's the thing. If you don't give them something of value that they can do and apply to their business, they will tune out. If they tune out, they don't learn. If they don't learn, they won't do. If they don't do, they don't change. And then nothing happens. So speak it, tell them what it is you want to tell them, speak it, and then teach it, share with them the strategy.
Yeah, and I love the concept of teach it, because people, when they're listening in, they're coming to get something from you. They're expecting that there's a transfer. And
That's
I
right.
think a lot of people, especially, it's so crowded now. There's so much competition for attention. There's so many
Right.
people. Here's the thing. This is like email. Remember when email first came out? It was, this is the most amazing thing. I can contact any prospect all around the world,
Right.
and I can do it with one push of a button. The problem was it offered the same ability to millions others. And so all of these emails are coming in. And I remember the very early days of being able to do bulk mail and bulk newsletters. And it was super, and it was powerful. And there was, so many opportunities that went along with that, but everybody else could too as well. And that's kind of the concept of this digital revolution, to where now you can speak to people so easily and efficiently, but others can as well. And so you have to have something of value. So you kind of got to expect that your audience, whoever's listening to you, are coming in with this idea of, entertain me, I dare you.
Right.
Like, what do you have for me? But, you mentioned talking about people that have listened to people who are speaking in the past, and people that have changed my life in it. And if you were to look from a high level, 30,000 feet or 10,000 feet, and look at the sailboat below, is you would see me tack at that given moment right after I heard a powerful speaker. And it wasn't because they had 100 things to share. A lot of times it was one thing that I went,
Yep.
wait, that is a crazy concept. And then I lean in. So a lot of times it's not like 100 things, it's one thing that you're teaching.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the professional speaking arena, we teach the principle of threes. So anywhere between 1 and 3 main points, depending on the amount of time you have. Like, for instance, if I have 5 minutes, we're not going to get to all 3. I might mention the 3 and then say we're going to drill down on point 1 or point 2 or point 3. So yeah, no more than 3, because the human brain, we've all been to those restaurants or those opportunities where we've been given unlimited choice. You go to the restaurant that has 27 pages and you just get frustrated, throw the menu down and say, just tell me what I want. So it's, if you confuse them, you lose them, right?
Yeah,
So
it's such a good concept. And with the restaurant too, as well, a lot of restaurant consultants will come into a restaurant and they go, look at all the food that we're offering. And they're like, we're going to get this to one sheet, and you're going to be a master at those one sheets. And I would say, even if you have 3 points, you really want them to leave with one thing that's going to change their life. Because the moment that they go to the car, they're already thinking about, I got to pick up so-and-so, I got to do this and that, and then they forget it. So we got speak it, then we
Yep.
got teach it. What's up next?
Yeah, so speak it, teach it. And here's the thing, you have to transfer something in teaching. It means you have to Well, one good way, one super simple way to do that is challenge people's assumptions and presumptions. Like,
Mm.
for instance, you may think I'm wearing glasses when in fact all I'm wearing is frames, right? This is what we refer to as a pattern interrupt. Now, what this does is it causes people to go in their mind, like that old cartoon character, right? And I actually do need glasses, and I was wearing glasses up until the time I literally switched them out right in front of you. But all I'm doing is challenging potentially. Now, there would be a point for that. The great Les Brown always says, never tell a story without making a point, and never make a point without telling a story. Well, this is just a story using additional set of frames as an example. Now, you might want to choose your pattern interrupt. You might, whatever, it doesn't really matter what it is. It might be that, weird things happen just literally outside of the. Well, here's what you need to know. That new diet plan that I've been working on, really, really, thank you. Okay. So you can go to the dollar store and get yourself some back scratchers, and you have a pattern interrupt. You have a way to teach a value structure. Like, if you're not paying attention, you miss the point. And it's not about profits, it's not about process, it's about people. So pay attention to the people. And then you stick your finger through the glasses and say, all this time, or during this time, you've made some assumptions about us and blah blah blah. So you can use it as a metaphor for connecting. So
And it
speaking,
literally is sleight of hand. I mean, that speaking is they're thinking you're going this way, you're thinking, and then, for me, for the speakers that I've really admired the most, is I'm listening, and then, whoa. I mean, there's just, okay, wow, that just really shifted my thinking. And it's just one thing, but it's actually magic. It's actually sleight of hand that you're taking them on a path and they're thinking they're going in one direction. And then you, in a very powerful way, point out, well, let me tell you how it really works. And boom, you got them.
yep, much like a good joke. There's this setup, and then there's the punchline. And the punchline comes as a result of setting them, moving them in one direction, and then instantly pivoting or moving in a different direction, which is what makes comedy for all intent and purpose work. So it is whether it's sleight of hand or setup and a punchline and a pivot, it's the same thing. You want to move people in a direction and then change the perspective, or offer even a pattern interrupt or a paradigm shift. So speak it, teach it, share something, create some value, exchange, and then preach it. Preach it is the promotion of your speaking and teaching. So that you have to get out there and you have to tell anybody and everybody who will listen. When I was growing up, again, as a professional magician and performer, or as an emerging and growing performer and presenter, I would ask anybody who would have me come do my presentation on spectacular events, how to have a spectacular event. And there'll be some magic, and there'll be some fun, and there'll be, blah, blah, blah. But all that being said, I promoted it. And the best way to promote is to ask your way to success. I suggest people become an askaholic. The more you ask, the more you get. We have not because we ask not. It's the oldest principle on the planet. If you want to do something great for your business, starting right this second, simply learn to ask more. Ask more. Ask more. Ask always. ASK. Ask always. Ask specifically so the brain knows what to do with the request. And ask kindly and clearly. Very simple. So ask more.
And
So
it's part of being entrepreneurial. And, so many people think that you have one event that makes you an entrepreneur, which is to quit your job and start a business. But entrepreneurism is a series of continual risk, large and small, that you take. Now, not wild-eyed poker at 2 a.m. where you're putting all the chips in the middle of the table, but just little risk. And it's, it sounds so simple, but this idea of ask is something we got to do all the time. And the difference, I think, between an entrepreneur and someone who wishes they could be an entrepreneur is most of that you're at the 40 to 60%. Like, should I not? Do you think, would this be rude if entrepreneurs ask? They raise their hand, they volunteer. Do I really have time for this? Okay, I'm going to do it. Do you need help? Can I help you out with this? Hey, have you ever thought of, and not in an obnoxious way, but we know all those moments, right? Where there's a kind of an uncomfortable pause and should I or should I not? And entrepreneurs ask.
Yep. I think our task in life and in business is to ask. Our task is to ask. Sometimes the T is silent. Simply ask your way to success. And that's part of the preach it model. You have to let people know all marketing is simply asking. Now, if you want the advanced course on asking, here are 2 questions that will get you through and generate 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 figures, whatever it is you want in your business. Ask more often, ask always. And so the 2 questions are, who can I help? How can I help? If you learn to only ask that, who can I help and how can I help? Instead of looking for, where can I get my next payday? How can I acquire my next client, customer, prospect, suspect, victim? How can I serve? How can I serve? So who can I help? How can I help? That's the advanced course on asking. Who can I help? Because once I identify who I can help, then all I have to do is figure out, how can I add value? How can I help you? Michael, if I shared with you 6 strategies for generating $100,000 over and above what you're already generating in the next 3 to 6 months, do I have to and ask you, how can I help you achieve those goals? And if I have the systems, tools, and strategies, do I have to sell you on anything? No.
No, Dean, you do not.
Right? Of course. So ask your way to success. And if you really want the advanced strategies, who can I help? How can I help? Really super simple. And then the last.
Right. Well, before we get there, because the preach it part too is kind of the prove it part too, because I think you start speaking, you start teaching, and in that teaching, for me, it's always one concept. I'm just looking, we've been around so much, I tell people that I've been doing this so long, I'm old and worn out. And if you've got something that catches my eye or something that I'm impressed, but then I'm leaning in, and usually I'm following it up with, okay, now prove it. So give me the details, dive into it deeper, because that's where it gets to belief for your listeners, because you're trying to get them to do something, to do something different. And so that preach it part, I really like that it's 2 things are happening in there. I like the preach it, because usually a lot of times people say prove it at this point, but you're proving it, but you're doing more than that. You're also now asking the question, why not you? Right?
Yeah.
That they're doing it to where they're getting a little uncomfortable. And this was the thing when I went to the John Maxwell and he started going through those books. Not only was he telling what was in the books, but he was looking right at me and basically saying, Michael, I wrote this for you because we both know you're weak in this area and you need to fix it. And so that preach it part, the prove, and then also getting people to go, why not me? I love it. All right. So the last piece
Just a second here then. So if you're going to throw prove it in, prove it actually begins before the speak it. You have to be proving from the very, very beginning, whether it's social credibility, whether it's social proof, whether it's actual proof through testimonials. And then during your speak it and teach it phase, you're actually demonstrating that you can produce the results that people are wanting as you are speaking about those. So you speak it and then you teach it and then you demonstrate. One of the teaching modalities.
Well, I just want to pause you there, because that was my whoa moment in here, is that you're absolutely right, is that the proof should be before your first words open up. That's really, really good stuff. And that's how we kind of generate initial interest. People go, well, why should I even bother listening to Dean or to Michael? And you've done a lot of the proving before you even get started. Good stuff.
Well, and again, as a speaker, even if you're not a professional, a brief introduction or a video introduction that allows people to get to know who you are. 30,000 live paid performances, 150,000 live hours generating $20 million for charitable cause groups and organizations. Notice at no time do I say I'm great, Dean is, Dean did, Dean does. I'm just saying, here's the facts. Whether you believe me or not sounds, is somewhat irrelevant. That being said, testimonials are a great way. And then when you do all those things, it's really a 3-step process: a speak it, teach it, preach it. And then as a result of the effective speak it, preach it, teach it, and prove it, that you profit. You profit emotionally, spiritually, relationally, intellectually, and of course, as business leaders, financially. Here's the thing. As a speaker, as a performer, I would go and I would speak, air quotes, for free. That being said, it no way meant that I was not getting paid. Again, sometimes it was a relational dividend. Sometimes it was an emotional dividend. Sometimes it was a connection. And oftentimes it would give me the opportunity to either invite people to the next level of understanding or connection or communication. So I would invite them to know more, either extend our relationship or extend our education, depending on what it was I'm offering. And it might be a super simple thing. Hey, if you want to know more, I'll be waiting over here at the back of the room. Please feel free to come on over and have a quick conversation. Or it might be that, hey, I've got the free gift download available for you, 7-step guide on how to make your events spectacular, amazing, exciting, igniting, and fun, guaranteed. It might be that you simply say, buy my stuff, whether it's my ideas or my principles or my processes or my programs or mastermind or membership or training or tools or resources, whatever it happens to be. So there is an opportunity at that point to profit. And again, I just wanted to make it clear that it's not all about the Benjamins or the multicolor strips of paper for our European and Canadian friends, right? So
yeah. So on the word profit, I want to dive into the word profit, because so many people hear the word profit at the end of this and they go, "Oh, greedy entrepreneur, magician, it always gets to profit." Folks, profit is how we stay in business. And so
correct.
this isn't about the dragon sitting on piles of gold coins. Business gets to be enjoyable, as in where you can sleep at night. You're not staring at the stars of the ceiling of your bedroom going, how am I going to make it tomorrow? How am I going to pay people? Profit is the gas in the vehicle to get you to the end of the station. And you have to be focused on profit, because business gets enjoyable, pleasurable, and you really reach your prime when at the end of the month, you have more left over than when you started at the beginning of the month, and that's profit. So everything that you do, you have to have a profit mentality. We didn't say greedy mentality, but profit is the key to success. So everything that you're doing is intentional, and speaking really has a tremendous ROI.
Yeah, it really does. Your cost in, your expense is little more than sweat equity. I mean, there's a few other, obviously, if you're driving or flying, there's some of those kinds of expenses. For all intent and purpose, the yield is exponentially higher. And let me speak to profit for a quick second. Here's the thing is that profit is not a nasty word, only because you have to understand that if you go out of business because you fail to profit, then who are you of value, service, support, and encouragement to? No one. You, in order to do good in the world, you must do well in the world. It is impossible to feed hungry people from an empty plate. So you have to have something on the plate so that you can listen. If you want to make a difference in the world, you have to have those resources to do well in the world. So do good so you can do well. So there's a reason for that profit. And again, it's not a nasty word. It's a good word when you understand that sometimes your deposits are emotional, spiritual, relational, intellectual, physical, financial, all of those ways. I can give my time, my talent, and my treasure and my trust because I'm able to do well in the world, right? So I'm able to help people even with my time because I have the time dividends, the investment that I've made in myself and others to give of that time. I can't do that if I don't do well, because I'm worried about where my next paycheck or payday is coming from. I get to serve my way to success. And so
Well, and
could you,
I think that's the key with speaking to as well, is this idea of service. And you don't want to measure it on each and every, well, I spoke, how much I spent to do this, and to that point, because that gets you in the wrong mindset, because you're not going to maximize the return on your investment if you're not maximizing the reason why you're there. And if you really go with a service mentality of, I am going to come and provide value, really great value, that if they never see me or hear from me ever again, they're going to feel like that was time well spent. And I really appreciate that. I can say, though, in the traditional speaking environments where I went and did it for free, and for free, air quotes, as you say,
that's right.
there's never been a time where with rare exception, where I thought, well, that was a flop. Sometimes it's just one totally meaningful relationship that changes everything. Other times they literally are lining up and following up. But in our day and time, so many people back in the day would say speaking is the most profitable thing you can do. You have to, and I think understandably, a ton of people were saying, it's not for me. I don't really want to stand in front of a group of 5,000 people, tour the country. That's not for me. But it is for every entrepreneur now, through these kinds of formats, through meetings, one on someone else, really getting the speaking down. And then also, not just to speak, but to start using it as a skill and a tool, like a hammer. And how can I improve? Record yourself, listen to yourself. What are ways that I can get bigger, faster, stronger? And if you start today, you've probably seen it. I know you've seen it. People make extraordinary progress in a very short period of time.
Yep, absolutely. So I'd say speak it, teach it, preach it, and then you'll profit.
All right, my friend Dean, I knew that this would be fabulous. And if you want more of Dean, and of course you do, go to valueimpactprofit.com. You also can see Dean in Clubhouse, in the Marketing Cafe, where we have these sessions all of the time. And he's one of my co-baristas there, and we have fabulous conversations. You can also, one of the great things here is, if you've caught this in the middle or later, is we have something called the Marketing Cafe Academy. And in the Marketing Cafe Academy, we have all of these Marketing Cafe live sessions recorded for you to review, so you can do the whole thing. You can also see another one by Dean, which was fabulous, that's in there, as long as many of our other speakers. Speaking of free, and we can take off the air quotes, it's free. It's the Marketing Cafe Academy. If you go to marketingcafe.club, you can learn all about us in Marketing Cafe, but you can sign up for the Marketing Cafe Academy, and it is free. It's hours and hours and hours of training like this available to you. Well, Dean, thank you so much for joining us.
It is my pleasure.
Another fabulous session, as I knew that it would be. And so this is going to be the conclusion of another session of our Marketing Cafe Live. And again, my name is Michael K. Reynolds. You can find out about me at globalstudio.com. And I hope you choose to do so, because I would love to connect with you. And remember, go to marketingcafe.club to connect with us here in the Marketing Cafe Live. And so that's our session that we have today on speaking with the great Dean Hankey, and we will catch you next time in the Marketing Cafe. Thank you very much.